Yo, what is up guys, Del Boy here. So following Anthony Yarde's 11th round knockout loss to Sergey Kovalev, should Yarde consider changing a trainer? Should he consider getting rid of Tunde Ajayi? Now, before we get into this, I want to make clear that, listen, Tunde's done a good job in getting Anthony Yarde as far as he's gotten him. You know, Anthony Yarde was a late starter, picked up boxing at 19 years old, so for him to have navigated Yarde to a world title shot, you know, at 27, 28 years old, it's quite impressive considering the lack of experience. So I'm not sitting here saying Tunde's done a bad job, but I wonder if Tunde has taken Yarde as far as he can, and from a development perspective, I wonder if it would be beneficial for Yarde to change trainer so that, you know, the new trainer can focus on the things that Yarde does well and build on them, basically make the most of his strengths. That's something I don't think Tunde Ajayi has done, if I'm being honest. Now, there's a lot of talk about Tunde's methods going into this fight. Was there method to the madness, or would it go wrong? And let's be honest, it went wrong. I felt tactically Team Yarde really got this wrong, and you know, in terms of styles and Anthony Yarde's style, or the style Tunde has him fighting in, I don't believe it's right for Anthony Yarde, if I'm being honest. And yeah, they can make certain improvements to that style, but I don't believe, from an outsider looking in, that Anthony Yarde will ever reach his potential fighting in that Philly shell, if I'm being honest. I don't think he has the right body type for that style. I don't think he's got enough athleticism for that style. He doesn't have the feet for that style, and he certainly doesn't have the boxing IQ or acumen for that style. You know, that style, you know, historically has been one of the hardest styles to master. You see all of these guys using a Philly shell, and usually it goes horribly wrong. You know, we can see guys like Andre Berto, for example. You know, none of these guys can pull it off. And for a guy like Anthony Yarde to be fighting in that style is crazy to me. You know, Anthony Yarde was a late starter to boxing. He first started boxing at 19 years old. And from that point of view, Yarde is always going to be playing catch-up. He doesn't have that amateur background. He's not been to international tournaments. He had 12 amateur fights. This guy doesn't have a deep amateur background. He's a novice. And listen, for Tunde Ajayi to be building Yarde as a Philly shell fighter, to me is crazy. Like I said, the Philly shell, or the shoulder roll, whatever you want to call it, is one of the hardest styles to master in boxing. And if you get it wrong, as we've seen with many fighters, you know, if you're teaching somebody to drive, you wouldn't teach them to drive in a Maserati, for example, because they're going to wrap that car around a tree. They can't handle that car. They don't have the experience of driving cars to handle that type of car. It's going to end in tears. And the same scenario relates to Anthony Yarde. Why would you teach a guy who started boxing at 19 to fight out of a Philly shell? He doesn't have the boxing acumen for it. He doesn't have the experience for it. And to be honest, he doesn't even have the physical attributes to pull off that style. So for me, Yarde fighting in that style was a mistake, and we now know that due to the Kovalev fight. I said in my prediction video that, you know, Yarde's shoulder roll would basically ensure he got hit with right hands from Kovalev, and that's what we saw. I could see it coming, but we had to wait for this moment to well and truly see. For me, it's obvious the shoulder roll don't work for Anthony Yarde, and like I said, if I'm a boxing trainer, I wouldn't teach a novice who started boxing at 19 to fight out of a shoulder roll. To me, that's crazy. It's crazy. Look at the fight with Sergey Kovalev. Look at the pattern of the fight. Look at what happened. In the first 6 rounds, I felt Yarde lost every single round. Yarde was trying to be cute in that shoulder roll and counter Kovalev coming in. He'd try and counter with the left hook, and he would try and counter with like a pulled right hand, right? And listen, Yarde landed a good shot here and there, but he got outboxed in the first 6 rounds. He got his head jabbed off. In round 7, Yarde made a specific adjustment. He started to walk Kovalev down behind a high guard and he was trying to work the body. And in round 7, Yarde had success, and in round 8 he did more of the same and had tremendous success. Why is that? I'll tell you why. Because he was fighting to his strengths. Yarde, listen, he's not a master boxer. He's not a great technician. What he is, he's a big strong dude with strength, explosiveness and power. And he was playing to those strengths in rounds 7 and 8. That's why he had success. You know, I mentioned in my prediction video, well I'm sure I did, that Yarde would be best suited to fight in a high guard in this fight. You know, try and walk Kovalev down, try to work that body. That would be his best chance. And we saw that in round 7 and round 8. Because he was playing to his strengths. I think that style, full stop, will suit Anthony Yarde a lot better than this shoulder roll type style. I think Anthony Yarde should really look at fighters like Arthur Abraham, for example, a guy with one of the tightest high guards you will see. And Abraham had the body type to do that. You know, he could be nice and compact, he had big thick forearms, and he would walk forwards, soaking up shots on the gloves, and he would pick his spots. He would apply steady pressure, and he would pick his spots. I think Yarde would be a lot more effective if he fought in that type of style. Because Yarde, listen, he can be nice and compact, nice thick forearms to create a really nice high guard, and Yarde can then try to walk people down behind that high guard, maybe adopt like a ramrod jab behind that high guard, and explode out of it with power punches. That's the style I think Anthony Yarde would suit a lot more, because it would play on his natural physical attributes. You know, you play to your strengths in boxing and in life. I don't think this style that Tunde has does that. I really don't. And listen, like I said, I'm not saying Tunde is a bad trainer. I'm not saying Tunde hasn't taught Yarde some good things. You know, Yarde got so far with that style. So I'm not saying it was completely terrible. But what I'm saying is, I don't think Yarde will get much further with that style. I think he needs to change it up. And he needs to play to his strengths. Will he do that under Tunde Ajayi? I'm not so sure. Tunde comes across as a very headstrong individual, a very stubborn individual. So I really cannot see this guy changing his philosophies at this point. I really can't. So if Yarde stays with Tunde, I pretty much expect the same old style, to be honest with you. And yeah, I do believe at this point Anthony Yarde should really consider changing trainers to get to that next level. Because listen, Anthony Yarde is not a master boxer. He's not a technician. He's got average boxing skills at best, if we're talking about the technical side of boxing. But, like I said, he has impressive physical attributes, and I would say he has raw talents. He's got raw potential, and maybe the right trainer could make the most of that raw talent, that raw potential, and as a result maybe Yarde could go further in his career. Listen, I'm not saying Anthony Yarde has the potential to be a world champion or anything like that. Right now, I don't think he's got a hope in hell of being a world champion, considering how strong the light heavyweight division is. But what I am saying is he would have a much better chance under a different trainer. I don't think Tunde Ajayi is the man to take Anthony Yarde to that next level. Now that's just my perspective, just my thoughts on the matter. It does come across as quite reactionary, but I think this Yarde-Tunde situation is a little unique. It's not like other training partnerships in boxing. They've gone a completely different route to get to a world title fight, and it's not really worked out. And now, as a result, I think it's only natural and fair to ask questions on the matter, you know. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the matter, you know. They are my ideas, they are my perspectives. Share yours below. I'm intrigued to hear your guys' opinions on this matter, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys would be so kind, if you could smash the like, and also if you are new, hit subscribe. It really helps me out. Peace.